Whoop, and here we go. Okay, I did the end here. I did the end here we go live early. So, how's everybody doing today? I hope everybody's having a phenomenal day. Thank you for joining us for the for this review. This is one of my favorite series we've ever done because I get to sit next to my lovely wife, Crystal. We're gonna let a few people join. It looks like 0 people are on right now. Actually, 14. Okay. But that ticker takes a little while. Tajay, how are you doing? Slatstukin, it's Slatstukin 67.
Awesome.
We were, if we were ever going to have another kid, that was going to be the name. It's crazy, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What a coincidence. Teddy Justice, how are you? Kimberly Gonzalez, Wayne something, I don't know. Britt L, Christian Real Life, Anna L. How is everybody doing? I hope you guys did your homework. If not, we're just going to watch it anyway. Angel, Mallory, Peaceful Lifter, what's up, motherfuckers? How are you doing? Hey, I did want to point out just to everybody really quickly, you can join our app and be a part of the Hunger Management Support Group, and you can see what all I'm eating, which has been, for those of you that are in the group that are in here right now, it's already been nothing. My hunger is super managed this week. I am a little behind on fluid though. I don't know why that's happening. We're going to work on, when I say we're going to work on some stuff, she's going to tell me how she's going to fix that shit. Hello to everybody else. Hello, Jane, Brian, what's up, motherfucker? Angel, Lindsay and A, Janet, Gypsy Wolf, Saul. I just think of like, what's that movie? The Ocean's 8 or Ocean's 11 or something like that. Every time I hear the word Saul, I don't know. So, Alan's better half. Great to see you. Thank you. People, I had somebody say that they thought that the only women I was with is imaginary the other day online. That was a good one. Oh, and like the other, and we were going to get to this real quick, but one of the questions I get all the time, especially on Twitter, is how the fuck do you put up with me?
I love you. I don't put up with you.
That's what I'm saying. Alan, dude, I haven't received a notification from your channel in years. I used to watch every video. Thanks. And thank you for watching every video, and thank you for being back. That thanks wasn't aimed at you. That thanks was typical. I mean, it's just fucking, it's typical. It's only going to get worse, by the way, for YouTube, probably. I'm just being very honest. We are going to be doing a few other things. Mark has got an idea. He was just texting me about it. He's got an idea that we might have he might have somebody on the team help out with research and stuff like that for us to make things easier on like Crystal and I and him and everybody like that. But I do highly suggest that you follow me right here on Twitter. For those of you that are watching on Twitter, what's up, motherfuckers? But please do follow me there. I get to say anything I want over there because, like, the thing about it is, for over there, as long as you're not inciting violence, you can say whatever the fuck you want. I don't incite violence. I just say true shit that they don't seem to like on here. But that and like I just can go off on people and like they can't just mass report me and have it matter. So where is Babushka lady? She is literally right next to Crystal.
She's
and then Mr. Kitty is right back here. What's up, Mr. Kitty? How you doing, bud? And today we are going over the documentary of how ultra-processed foods are slowly killing us. Now, I wanted to preface this in this very clear way. You're in Twitter jail again. I haven't been in Twitter jail in a little while, and I have. For those of you that aren't, I'm serious. I've just been going to fuck off about anything I feel. Like, if you wonder like how the mind of an ADHD person works, that's often it. Because like the things that interest me, like weight loss, obesity, to a certain degree, politics. It's weird because in the last I'm not like a politics guy, to be real, because like I'm a Constitution kind of guy, and Crystal can tell you this. We're Constitution people. We vote independently. Like, I'm going to vote for whoever's going to leave me the most the fuck alone.
Yes.
That's how I look at it. Whoever's going to leave me the most the fuck alone, that's what we're going to do. Like, I believe the federal government should like have almost no say in our lives. And that's the only reason why it gets political, because I'm not really a Republican or Democrat. I just think you got to be all out fucking crazy to vote for people that are going to campaign on policy of taking your rights away.
Yeah.
So I've had other people ask that before too. We should really we should do a show, one of these where she's on and you guys just get to ask her questions about how she deals with me, because for some reason that seems to be a big thing. But people wanted to know how you handled it when I went crazy at the beginning of the pandemic for saying like true shit.
You were saying the truth,
Yeah.
so
That
shouldn't be considered crazy.
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate it. Anyway, now we're back to this. I did want to point out though that this really, really good. Whoops, you guys disappeared on us. That this really, really, really good documentary is from years ago. This is before the pandemic. This was done. I think this was from 2018. And it is a fabulous, fabulous documentary. It's about 44 minutes. We're going to play it at 1.25 speed. I'm going to get it started right now. Okay, so we're going to do this and share screen, Chrome tab. Bam. Okay, and we're going to do and then I'm going to be a little less weird. We're going to do okay. Oh, we can't do that. My better half is hidden when we do that. How about this? Boom. Okay, we'll do that. We're just super tiny over here. We're okay. So here we go.
Obesity is now the biggest health crisis in the world. For the first time in history, children are facing shorter lives than their parents.
Again, this is pre-pandemic.
We're eating poorly and we're getting fatter. It's a huge burden on the health system.
Where are we watching? This is on YouTube. This is how ultra processed foods on YouTube. Give me a second.
There you go.
There you go.
System. What can we do? Hi, I'm Simon Gold, and I'm a chef. I've got a life for food, eating, and I have loved every moment of it. But unfortunately, I've become large. So I'm now on a mission to find out, why are we fat? In this series, I'll cut through the myths.
You know what? You guys are probably getting an echo. I forgot about this.
And uncover the facts about obesity and its effects. I'll talk to leading experts to see what causes the ever-increasing epidemic. And I've agreed to be a guinea pig. Using the latest cutting-edge science, I'll be poked and prodded. I'm so brave. Weighed and scanned. Sounds freaky in here. To see just how bad I am.
It actually says they're obese.
I'll get the latest nutritional advice and be put through the middle of intense exercise. So I can make change and improve my health for good. It's the last time you get to see this fat body, because now I'm going to be working on it. All in a bid to find out, why are we fat?
So again, for those of you that are just new here, we just want to go over like the information that's held in these documentaries. This is Crystal's idea to do like a nice documentary series so we can talk about different types of information. If you have some, and I'll probably do a video here probably later on today, but if you guys have suggestions on some of these, please let us know, because I don't want it to seem like we're just picking like canned responses that agree with us. It's just that the fucking facts agree with us. I almost wish I was wrong in a lot of it. No, and somebody asked, is that the name of it? Are we fat? I just gave the link to it a little bit. If you scroll up, Annie McLeod. I have to say McLeod as if it's a Highlander movie. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be making fun. I'm not making fun of your last name. I'm just
being weird.
How is ultra processed food slowly killing us?
When I was a kid, a fat person stuck out like a sore thumb. There weren't fat kids at school, and there were few overweight adults. But like me, New Zealanders have gotten fatter and fatter, and it has happened recently. Most of this weight has gone on progressively over the last 40 years, and now it is a serious health issue.
It's predicted that obesity is going to become our biggest health problem, and it's going to overtake smoking and smoking-related diseases. I
will point out that since this has happened, they've announced that it is our biggest health problem. since this
that
documentary?
big. We're the third fattest nation amongst developed countries. We're well up there, and our rates are staggering. 1 in 3
This is Australia, by the way.
adults are obese. Half of all adult Māoris are obese. 2/3 of all Pacific Island adults are obese. These are monumental figures.
It's not just Kiwis who are suffering. Our neighbours across the Tasman are following a very similar trend.
The rates of obesity and diabetes in Australia are very high. So 2 in 3 males are either overweight or obese, and about 1 in 2 females. If you take into account all of the costs, including direct medical costs and indirect costs, it's about 15 billion a year.
When you look at our direct costs to lifestyle-driven chronic illness, it's in the trillions in America, like 2.7 to $3 trillion. When you look at lifestyle-driven illness by eating too much, smoking too much, drinking too much, with the vast majority of it eating too much.
It's an international phenomenon. There are now more fat people than skinny people in the world. Over the last
That's just staggering. It is staggering.
35 years, obesity rates have more than doubled, leading to a massive and rapid increase in heart disease, kidney and liver problems, high blood pressure, and diabetes.
Diabetes was a virtually non-existent disease in the 19th century. Even
So by the 19th century,
in the United States, the estimates of the percentage of the population that were diabetic was roughly, 1 in 10,000. Today, it's 1 in 11. If you believe,
so it went from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 11. And these are old numbers. Like I would almost guarantee it's 1 in 3 have pre-diabetes at least. If not 1 in 2 people have pre-diabetes. Actual diabetes, probably 1 in 5. It's probably 20% of the population. It's probably 65 million people have diabetes. That's not a sustainable. The wave of chronic illness and disease that is coming. Crystal and I discuss this all the time. Like, we need to normalize. Like, we're worried about normalizing fat people. We need to normalize people with one leg. And I hate to even be like that, but for real, like the wave of illness that is coming is, as two atheists, biblical. Biblical.
our Centers for Disease Control, diabetes prevalence in the United States has increased 900% in the past 50 years. Obesity rates have increased about 250% since the early 1960s.
In 1980, the diabetes epidemic started in earnest, and it continues through today. And it's all because of the change in our diet from real food to processed food, low-fat processed food, high-sugar processed food.
But when did you graduate high school, honey?
96.
96? I graduated in 89. When you were in high school, at graduation, didn't almost every dude have like abs? Right? Like, I'm not saying they were jacked, but when I graduated high school, almost every guy, like, if you did not have abs, you were like the thicker person, Like, we would have 1-2 people out of a class of 500 people that were like obese, that were fat. And I'm talking, most of them, and most of the dudes that were obese played football. They were like actually just gorging themselves with food, Women, it was probably the one or two in high school that had actual very serious, underdiagnosed at the time hypothyroid. Wouldn't you say? Like, when you think back to it, like PCOS, hypothyroid, like what we know now?
Yeah.
That's the nugget of truth of the last 40 years.
Like the rest of society, I wasn't always fat. I was pretty lean for the first 30 years of my life. But believe it or not, a crazy life working as a chef and restaurant owner meant I didn't always eat healthy myself, and I started to pack on the pounds. I wasn't happy with that, but a couple of years ago, the real bombshell came. I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. That was a real wake-up call. I realized for the first time my bad habits were potentially killing me, and if I wanted to see my 2-year-old daughter grow up with a dad still in her life, then I needed to make a drastic change.
I mean, it's a great reason It absolutely is because, I mean, and luckily, like this person sees it. I think that's one of the reasons why through like all the death threats, everything like that, like we believe in what we do, and it's like, I don't want like, it's even happened in my family where family members have lost their parent because of obesity.
Yeah.
And it's not something that like the moments missed, like scar the person. Like I have relatives that like their parent won't be there at their weddings and shit like that because they're dead. That's not cool. I mean, like if you're not going to live for your children, don't have children. Like do what you can to do not, because once you like the habits that you show by gluttoning yourself, everything like that to your child. So this gentleman, I give this gentleman lots of credit.
For most of us, the word diabetes is just a word. But what does it really mean? I've come to San Francisco to meet kidney specialist Linda Frazzetto.
Diabetes is your blood sugar is high. Okay? And
This is a pretty interesting telling of the differences between type 1 type 2 diabetes also. So if you aren't familiar, please do watch. But it also it's very, very, very telling in the fact that they're not really the same disease. They just have kind of the same action. For them to be named the same kind of muddies the water a little bit about this.
And there's one type which is often genetic, and that's type 1 diabetes, where your pancreas is just not making enough insulin, and so you are insulin deficient. And therefore, the treatment for that is we give you insulin. The second type of diabetes is where the insulin is there, but it's not, your body cannot use the insulin very well, and that's called insulin resistance. And that's the kind of diabetes that we call type 2 diabetes.
I'm not alone. Type 2 diabetes rates have quadrupled, and 450 million other people around the world suffer the same condition, and it causes a huge range of medical problems.
Damage to the eyes, damage to the kidneys, damage to the heart, damage to the blood vessels like in the brain so that you get strokes, damage to the blood vessels in the hands and feet so that you get this peripheral vascular disease. Depending on how bad your diabetes is and how long you've had it poorly controlled, we think it cuts 10 to 15 years off your life. I mean, if you end up with a heart attack so that your heart is really weak, if you end up with a stroke so that you're paralyzed on one side, I mean, you're not dead, but you're really sick now. I mean, if you're going to be alive, wouldn't you rather be healthy and alive?
Until now, I've never stopped and thought how damaging obesity was if left unchecked. It can lead to many more problems.
We used to think that obesity led to diabetes and heart disease, but the list grows longer. It's a major cause of liver disease and liver failure. The commonest cause of liver transplant now isn't alcoholism, it's obesity. It's associated with a whole range of different cancers. It's associated with Alzheimer's disease and cognitive decline and impairment as we get older. Heart disease, strokes, joint diseases. Those who are very obese are less likely to be employed, are less likely to form relationships, will have fewer friends, will earn less as adults. There are lots of social negative connotations to those who are very obese.
Look at the garden, look at the garden. Now that I've heard what diabetes will do if I don't make a change, I'm ready to start my journey. My daughter needs her dad to stick around for the future, and he's got to do everything in his power to make sure he does. They say that every journey begins with a single step.
He can definitely not put his collar up like that. It's driving me a
So
little
I'm
crazy.
stepping in to see Dr. William Ferguson, who's putting me on the path to a healthier future. That's the plan anyway.
So I understand you've really put your body on the line
Really
for
focus on
science
what's
here to see if we can really get a better understanding of your diabetes and your weight and things like that.
What I need you to do is fix me.
Okay, all right.
Firstly, William needs to work out my body mass index. So along with my weight,
92,
my height,
175.
and my flattering abs, I should know where I stand amongst the general population.
It says here your BMI is 31.0 and it actually says they're obese. I think that's because you're just over 30. That's where the arbitrary definition of obesity is. You're 31, your BMI.
What's normal?
Normal is really 25, something like that. So we obviously need to get that down.
The next indignity to suffer is a blood test.
Get some blood off you today.
I look terrified.
Yes. Just relax. We're just going to see if we can pump up a vein.
This isn't the first time I've had.
I'm seeing a lot of comments in the comment section too about people that have like a lot more recently toe amputations, stuff like that. Just get used to it. That's all I got. Like, because here's my thing. No matter how good Crystal and I at our job, no matter how good, like, all of society could wake up right now, right? Everybody could be like, "Fuck, being fat is bad," right? To be real, it's going to take. We have people right now that shouldn't expect to lose the weight they need to lose to get healthy. For like, if they tried hard, it should be viewed as like a 2-year journey. The amount of people we have that are double their body weight or more of what would be healthy for them is kind of staggering. I mean, I'm talking like, remember when we first started coaching? Like when we first started coaching, we had, most people were like 220. Most women were like in the high 180s, 190s. And this is 5-6 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. And now we've got a lot of people like it's accelerating so quickly. Wouldn't you say? Like, I mean, I shared on Twitter yesterday, I shared some old fat pictures of me, right? And people were like, "How big were you there?" I'm like, I was about a little in the mid 280s probably. And now I think about it, like, that's like not uncommon. But yet back then, 6 years ago, I feel like when I walked into a room, you fucking noticed. I mean, I was big shoulders and like that too, but like you definitely noticed. Now when you walk around the mall or stuff like that, it's like how I used to look, except without the muscle, just the size is very common. It's just getting worse and worse. But if everybody woke up today, the amount of, not only would it take a long time for people to fix themselves, but some people, it's what they're talking about. It's in the sugar, it's in the food that these people are addicted to.
Blood taken, but on previous visits to the doctor, my veins were always, how can I put this, feeling a tad shy.
So you reckon they don't even have any luck on that arm?
Oh, we can
Should
have
we
a look.
look?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish I had those veins that
Like
just
this?
poked out. Yeah, there you go. I hate needles.
And what we might do is get our expert to come on in and just have a wee look, because I don't, yeah.
Oh, this is a really great start. I hate needles. You can't see my veins. Something I am more willing to part with is a few cells for a genetic test. And after a few more attempts, my veins reluctantly play ball. We've had a couple of goes, but we've got it. And it's coming out, and I don't want to look at it at all. These fluids will head off to the lab to be analysed, so the experts will know just how bad my situation is. Thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing the results.
Okay, great. See you, Simon.
See you, William. Thank you.
I'm not sure how he is.
Simon
People were
Vince,
asking, by the way. I'm
what
not
does
sure.
that really mean? I've come to Massey University to find out more. Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Simon. Nice to meet you.
Owen Muggeridge will get an accurate reading of just how much body fat I'm hauling around using this strange contraption, the bod pod. How does the bod pod work?
Well, in a really simple way, a bit like when you get into a bath full of water, the volume of water is displaced by the same volume as your body. This uses the same principle, it uses air instead.
All right, well, why don't I hop into this futuristic machine and you send me into the future? What do I need to do?
Yep, just go to the toilet, get changed, we'll give you a little hat, and we're good to go.
All righty, go for a pee. Every ounce is going to count. Okay, channel swim, here I come.
That's actually how a lot of people beat this, by the way, is they either don't go to the bathroom beforehand or they eat a lot of meat right beforehand, because that registers as lean mass.
Here we go.
See you.
2030. See you soon.
Why bring up 2030? Agenda 2030.
Okay, just about to start. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Where's the throttle? The reading only takes a few minutes, but it's a strange experience. It feels more like some kind of ancient meditation chamber than a piece of cutting-edge scientific kit. Sounds freaky in here.
Okay, Simon, come on in. The results are in. Have a seat.
Uh-oh. There they go.
So the bod pod has calculated your percentage body fat. The bod pod has said you're 40% fat,
40% body fat. So the high range for guys, I would suggest, is 20. Right? That's the high range. So he is twice the high range. That is fucking not good.
Holy
Shit.
So it's also given in kilograms, but if you look at the chart on the wall over here, you can see that's put you into that over 30% the risky category.
Now, off the scale. Jeepers. Sounds like I've got, well, clearly I've got a heap of work to do. Wow, 40%. That's a lot of butter.
Somebody saying I watch stuff at 1.2. Like, one, we watch it at 1.5 speed just because I would need to change the audio a little bit for some copyright stuff. Two, she's used to talking to me, so I actually slow it down a little bit for all of you. That's how my heart like pitter pattered, because like people always said I talk too fast, and like she was like, "What? He does really?" Like
I
she
didn't know anyone thought that until you told me that people were saying that.
I was like, we were already
This bit
married.
of space age technology Owen straps me to is the DEXA, or dual energy X-ray absorptometry, a scanning device which shows where all this fat is hiding.
So here you can see the outline of your body. Everything in yellow is the fat around the muscles. The red is the muscle.
Look at the visceral fat. The amount of visceral fat. This should scare what I refer to as the fuck out of people.
And the blue is the skeleton.
Not the prettiest picture in the world. There's clearly quite a lot of fat looking at that yellow that's sitting in the sort of tummy region. Yeah, that's where I'm really looks to me. That's where I'm carrying on my thighs.
Yep. So next time we do the scan, hopefully a lot less of the yellow and more.
This is great right here. Look at this. Holy cow, that's so scary. In my head, well, like he's not too fat, but the reality is so different. That's the problem with acceptance of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is actually like normal is fat right now. Like I go over the statistics all the time, where the average male in America, according to 2018 numbers, is 5'9.5", which is my height, and with a waist circumference of 40.5 inches. That's fat as fuck. They weigh 200 pounds. It's 199.8 pounds or something like that. 5'9.5", and with a waist 40 inches. That's fat as fuck. That is Homer Simpson. Like, that is Homer Simpson. You know, like, and it's just been normalized. That's the average. The average woman is viscerally obese also. They have a waist to height ratio that puts them well into that healthy range. The normal that we have going on right now is the actual problem. Like, that's what people need to wake up to. It's the actual problem.
Correct.
All right, well, I've got a bit of work to do, and I'll see you in a few months. Hopefully less yellow.
That's all right. Thanks very much, Simon.
Thanks, Owen.
See you again.
Oh, well, I guess I've got to be brutally honest. I'm absolutely gutted. You know, 40% of me is fat. I mean, I knew that I'm overweight, but 40% of my body is fat. That's nearly half of me is fat.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm absolutely stunned, gutted. I've got a hell of a lot of work to do to change this, and I'm pretty scared about that, but I think I can do it, and I'm on a mission to do it, give it a go anyway. Why have I and so many others become obese and got diabetes and of our problems?
Oops.
Particularly heart disease and
Sorry.
this strange contraction about it. I'm absolutely. I've got a hell of a lot of work to do. Many others become obese and got diabetes in such a short space of time. Have people been eating the wrong foods or just too much? What does science say?
In 1994, we learned about a hormone called leptin. And leptin
Very
is
important.
made by your fat cells, and goes to your brain and tells your brain you've had enough and you shouldn't eat so much. And for 50,000 years, leptin worked very well.
So basically how this works is the more fat you have in on your body, the more leptin is produced by your body, right? So that is how our bodies have regulated up until now, evolutionarily, because as you would eat, your body would like your body produces more leptin the fatter you are. So the more excess weight you have on you, the less you want food, because it's actually what tells your brain to stop eating. Okay, leptin is like the full hormone, right? But listen to like how this works.
And then it stopped working about 30, 40 years ago. And the question was why? We knew that it wasn't because we weren't making enough leptin. We weren't leptin deficient. If anything, we were making too much leptin. But
from being too
the
fat.
leptin wasn't getting to the brain. That's called leptin resistance. The reason for leptin resistance is the hormone insulin. Insulin blocks the signal from leptin getting to the brain to tell you you've had enough.
So the higher your insulin levels are, the less leptin works, right?
Then that fosters the next question. Okay, if insulin's the bad guy in the story, why is insulin now high? Why is insulin going up? Why do each of us release 2 to 4 times the amount of insulin today that we did, say, 40 years ago? And that I can sum up in one word: sugar.
Robert Lustig says we don't realise it, but we are all eating too much sugar. So how common is sugar? I decided to check out the shelves at the supermarket. Nutrigrain, 4 health stars, source of protein and fibre. This should be pretty good. First ingredient is cereals of wheat flour, oat flour, maize flour. Second ingredient, sugar. Tell you what, I've had a few of these in my time. Wheat Bix, I love them. But what's in here? First ingredient, whole grain wheat. Second ingredient, sugar. Cornflakes, pretty popular. Most people love them. First ingredient, corn. Second ingredient, sugar. Third ingredient, salt. Fourth ingredient, barley malt extract. Which is sugar. No matter what the product, it seems sugar is in just about everything. Just looking at mayonnaise here, per serve, there's 3.2 grams of sugar, 4.3 grams, 5.3 grams, 7.8 grams, 13 grams of sugar, 15.5 grams of sugar. Wow, 48 grams of sugar. So basically, half of this bottle is sugar. Holy moly, that is a lot of sugar.
We consume triple to quadruple the amount of sugar per day that our body can actually metabolize rationally. We are overdosed.
Think about this. This is again, we don't pick things just to say we're right, but we're right.
Of the 600,000 items in the grocery store, 74% of them are spiked with added sugar, added by the industry for its own purposes, not for yours. The fact is that the food industry knows that when they add it, you buy more.
Yep.
Because they know that it's got an addictive quality.
Yep.
To at least a percentage of the population.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that sugar is addictive is very controversial, and in the nutrition world there's been this kind of idea that we're just rational human beings that choose to eat various foods, and some of us like sugar too much.
It's just ridiculous though. Like this is something I always find sad. Like I'm not a PhD, and I really don't even have like a medical degree. I have a healthcare administration degree, and an accounting degree. But what the fuck? If I can make the inarguable case that if something causes a hormonal pleasure event in the brain because you ingest it and it enters the bloodstream quickly and it makes you want more and more and more and more and more of it, even to the point where it has deleterious effects on your health and your life, then what is addiction?
Yeah.
Then what is an addiction then? Because if that doesn't meet the criteria for it, I would love to hear people's criteria. Chris, by the way, for our coaching, she's actually has figured this out way ago. One of our very first clients that we did together was a sugar addict, and she really does well with this stuff. But you have to treat it like it's an addiction. Like you absolutely have to.
But to me, my personal experience is that I was a sugar addict. In fact, if I go out and I have some sugar, I want more, and I want more and more and more. And I develop tolerance, and I feel these withdrawal symptoms. I get craving for it. I can't concentrate. I get restless. I get irritable.
Yep.
To me, it's a full-blown addiction.
Some scientists say sugar's a food. You can't be addicted to food because food's necessary for survival. But is sugar a food? Can you name me an energy source that is completely vestigial to human, animal, and any other life on this planet, and when consumed in excess, causes damage to your cells, to your organs, to your body, and shortens your lifespan? Yet we love it anyway. And the answer is, oh yeah, you can. It's called alcohol. Alcohol is an energy source. Alcohol has calories, but it's not nutrition. Well, guess what? Sugar is an energy source. Sugar has calories, but it's not nutrition.
Sugar comes in many forms, some refined and some natural. In fact, there are more than 50 names for the sugar in our food.
Look at these, by the way. I thought this was really telling.
Yeah.
Golden sugar, lactose, cane sugar, sorbitol, dehydrated cane juice. Like when you're just trying to find any way to fucking not that's craziness. Maltodextrin, caramel, ethyl maltol.
So that you just don't even know what it is.
Yeah. Date sugar, golden syrup, barley malt, Barbados sugar, mannitol, high fructose corn syrup, of course, yellow sugar, rice syrup, diastatic malt, Florida crystals. I didn't know it was Florida crystals. I thought those were meth. I'm just kidding. It's not like that down here. I'm just playing. That's what people think it is. Anyway.
Table sugar, or sucrose, consists of 2 molecules, glucose and fructose. Glucose is the stuff in our blood that our body uses to power itself. But too much fructose is increasingly seen as a problem.
We used to think that fructose was good because it sounds good. It's commonly available in fruit. But a whole bunch of experiments, epidemiological studies, clinical studies now show that fructose causes metabolic mayhem in the human body.
Yep.
We have the innate capacity to metabolize fructose to a point. Once you get above that, the liver becomes overwhelmed, can't burn it faster than it's coming in. And so the liver has an escape valve where it turns it into liver fat. And then that liver fat has to be exported out as triglyceride, which can cause heart disease or also contribute to obesity. Or maybe it won't be exported out and will stay in the liver. And now you've got non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and you have the start of type 2 diabetes, hypertension. Your insulin goes up, that can drive cancer progression. And we now know that insulin resistance at the liver is at least associated, if not the cause of, dementia as well.
So a lot of the evidence, like a lot of evidence for Alzheimer's was like, just so everybody understands, like this past year, and it was just, there's so much stuff that's been released lately that just falls under the radar. But the research for Alzheimer's and dementia was fraudulent, like on purpose from the beginning. We've been basically treating, for the last 20 years, we've been treating Alzheimer's incorrectly. I saw one news article about it. I mean, it's factual, but I saw one news article about it. It's crazy. Just like, the federal government did tell us that aliens existed like 2 fucking years ago, and everybody's like, what the fuck, people? Like, pay the fuck attention a little bit. But so sugar looks to cause almost every single thing, yet it's not on the news. No doctors talk about it almost. We market it to kids. Yes. Anybody that says we don't lies openly, right? And to get to the chemical composition about that, it's estimated that 80%, like glucose, is 100% absorbed into your muscles. Your body doesn't even need to process it; it just goes straight out. So when you eat a sugar, once the sugar is broken down into glucose and fructose, the glucose goes to your muscles, goes to be stored in the liver, and everything like that. Your liver needs to turn the fructose into glucose and or other shit, basically. So only about 20% of that can be processed through the body, through the muscles and stuff like that. 80% goes straight to your liver. So if you eat a lot of processed sugar in a day, or malto, whatever, or the billion other names of that shit, your liver is having to do all that. Like, I mean, you heard, I think they already said it on here, but the leading cause of liver transplant now is obesity, is that shit, not other liver diseases. It's fucking crazy.
Sugar now dominates our diet. It's in bread, it's in orange juice, it's in sauces and cereals. How did so much sugar end up in our food? The answer is complex. In the 1960s, heart disease was a major concern for adult men in the developed world. British nutritionists like John Yudkin believed sugar was the cause, but one prominent American scientist had a different theory.
One of the key things that happened at that time was the famous 7-country studies by Ansel Keys. And Ansel actually set out to show the fat in the diet, and that was his belief, was the major cause of our problems, particularly heart disease and the cholesterol epidemic that he saw in the United States, with people having very high cholesterol, atherosclerosis, and so on.
In an extremely influential study, Keys presented data from 6 countries which showed a definite correlation between fat intake and heart disease.
He takes 6 countries and charts their heart disease rates versus their fat consumption. It's almost a perfect linear. The more fat they eat, the more heart disease they have.
But when data from more countries became available, the relationship between fat and heart disease is not so clear-cut.
It just tells you affluent countries have more heart disease than non-affluent countries. Western countries have more heart disease than non-Western countries.
Despite the inaccuracy of the data, Keys continued his campaign demonizing fat, and his forceful personality drowned out competitors.
There was a battle between the British, Yudkin, who was saying, hey, sugar, it's pure, white and deadly, and Ansel Keys, who said saturated fat and fat in the diet, that's the problem. Keys won. He starts convincing other people without ever having the evidence to support it. Suddenly, dietary fat's the problem. If you take the fat out of foods because you're worried about heart disease, then the question is, what are you going to do to replace the mouthfeel and replace the taste? And the easiest, cheapest way to do it is to use sugar syrup.
Yep.
And now you've got something that's got almost the same amount of calories, and you've replaced the fat with sugar.
So here's the thing: a huge portion of the audience, because you guys are babies, like not like actual like babies and how you act. Like to me, you're like youngins for the most part. Like I was alive for this, like where the really big switch was like fat-free everything, right? It was like the fat had needed to be removed from your diet, no matter what. Zero fat diets were like people trying to get there. It's why everybody eats fucking chicken breast going out of style instead of the actual like good part of the chicken, which is chicken legs. Shit like that. But and then they started adding sugar to everything, to the point where, just so everybody gets this right, the added like processed sugar, the U.S. government subsidizes the sugar industry by like $4 billion a year with taxpayer money. So these people that are making us sick, our tax dollars are paying for them to make us sick. But I was around for this, and I can tell you this. This is like, again, when I was growing up, we didn't worry about this shit. Like, it was like you had like pork chops and gravy and potatoes and cheese and shit like that. Like, you had it all the fucking time at home when people cooked dinner, right? And this was before, like, butter was really the grease. This was before seed oils too and stuff like that, to a great degree. Like, there was olive oil. And vegetable oil wasn't even used all that much. Peanut oil was used more than vegetable oil, those sorts of things. And then when they went to fat free, everybody got fat. Like, they were worried about heart disease, and so we went fat free, and everybody got fucking fat. Everybody, like, watching people get fat, including myself. It's so easy to like I can't eat the amount of calories. Like, I can eat a lot. I can, like, the volume of food I can put down is very high, like a high capacity, right? But if it's not processed carbohydrates and shit like that, if it's not processed food, I have a hard time eating like like in the 5,000-6,000 calories. I would have a hard time with it. It's hard to eat 5,000 or 6,000 calories of beef, and shit, like, of beef and veggies. It's very hard. I mean, I bet you I could, but I don't want to.
Sugar, along with starch and fiber, are carbohydrates. In the 1960s, carbohydrates were thought to be healthy because they have less than half the calories per gram as fat. As the low-fat mantra started to gain traction, experts pushed a new message: fat is out, carbs are in.
Which is fucking crazy, because even before that, we knew that amino acids and fatty acids were essential. Like, we know carbohydrates are not essential. Like, don't be wrong, it's almost hard, like, in a healthy diet, a healthy, well-rounded diet, it's almost impossible to avoid them completely, because you do need to eat some vegetables and stuff like that for micronutrients, fiber, those sorts of things, right? But, like, you don't, like, people are like, I need to get my day started and fuel myself, like, I need to have my toaster strudel. That's not fucking fuel. That's fucking addiction,
People do say that, though.
Yeah. Oh boy, we have a whole file.
1970, the American
recordings just got better.
Okay, so while that plays through, we're not going to listen to the whole thing here, guys. We're probably going to play a little bit longer.
And over the age of 2, old enough to walk off his mother's breast,
and then we're going to
take a low-fat, high-carb diet. And by the 1980s, the idea that carbohydrates were fattening has been transformed into the carbohydrate as heart healthy diet food. And even the American Heart Association is recommending in brochures that we replace fat-rich snacks with sugared candies, because sugar doesn't have fat in it.
So real quick, I'm not going to say don't listen to your doctor, because of course I have to legally tell you, listen to your doctor, listen to your doctor, listen to your doctor. I will say this: I was a healthcare executive for a long time. They care about money, and they are pill pushers. They are literally fucking legal drug dealers. Okay. There's very little incentive for a doctor to not have you come back to his office every month. There's very little incentive, because they do make more money the more often you are in there. I will also say that the American Heart Association, and anybody that abides by the food pyramid that was given out by the USDA and backed by the FDA, and the CDC and the NIH, all support the food pyramid and the fact that carbohydrates are bad. It has to be like, I give all these people a lot of credit for being super intelligent people, likely smarter than me, which means they're fucking liars, in my opinion. Of course, Google and YouTube, because if I can figure it out and produce statistical data to show that it's in fact not good for you to eat 11 fucking servings of grains a day, that the outcomes are normally very, very, very bad. They can too. So they know this, like, and maybe not they, meaning like maybe not all the doctors, because doctors know fuck all about nutrition for the most part. But the people that wrote the pyramid absolutely do know. Like the scientists knew. No.
In the early 1990s, the US Department of Agriculture created the food pyramid. At the very
I didn't even
top,
know this was on
food
here, by the
we
way.
were told to eat the least of: fats, oils, and eventually even sugar. And at the bottom, the foods which we were told to eat the most of: bread, cereal.
That's fucking
You
crazy.
even said 11
Yeah,
servings.
that's fucking
It's
crazy.
6 to 11 servings.
Yeah, that's just that's entirely like this. There's no nutrition in this. This is just energy. You do not need that much energy to sit and watch TV, sit in an office, sit in a car, and barely walk at all in a day. You do not need this much fucking energy. I mean, at all, whatsoever. This could just be removed, as well as this. But I challenge you. I also challenge you to find any food that is made like this that makes it so you can only have a very sparing amount of sugar and oils and sweets and stuff like that. Because, like, our son likes the least expensive bread you can buy. He doesn't. It's not like we can afford to buy a slightly upgraded form of bread. I'm not talking like I can't shop at Whole Foods every fucking day, but we can buy not Town Talk and like the cheapest like $1 a loaf bread. He fucking loves it. So when he's here, and he's here almost every other day, so we fucking have some for him when he wants to make a sandwich. It's cake. Like people would consider that in Europe. They consider it cake. Like our bread over here has too much sugar in it to be considered bread over in Europe. It's cake. So I would have a hard time believing in the American diet that you can eat 11 servings of fucking breads, cereals, rice, and pasta without also quadrupling to about 5 times the amount of sugar that is suggested in a day by this very own pyramid. The whole pyramid is fucking fucked up.
And then what are you putting on that bread and pasta?
Yeah. It's the same thing. Like people are like, I had protein pancakes for breakfast. I did good. Like, what'd you put on it?
That's always my first question.
Rice and pasta. It all seems like good advice, right? Well, not quite.
The USDA pyramid that was developed around that time had at its base grain foods as something that should be the basis of our diet, the biggest part of our diet. And it didn't really specify what sort of grain food or in what form, because us nutritionists know they can be very different. But we now understand the terms of low GI versus high GI. And many of the grain foods that they were recommending to people at that time were very high GI foods.
By GI, they mean glycemic index foods, meaning that they spike people's hunger. Just saying.
So what are high GI foods? I've come to talk with Professor Jenny Brand-Miller and her team at the University of Sydney.
We're going to go through this section.
They run a lab that tests the GI of various foods. GI, or glycemic index, is a measure of how quickly a food spikes our blood sugar.
I'm just letting you know we didn't watch all the way
Foods
through this.
containing
It's
different
just me
types of
fucking
carbohydrates are prepared and fed to test subjects. And what do you know? Subject 007 has just arrived. Hi, how you doing?
Hi, well, thanks, Simon. So we'll just get your fasting blood glucose measure here. So we'll start off just by giving a quick alcohol wipe.
First part of the process is to extract a little blood, and thankfully this time, no veins are needed.
So just a little prick of finger.
He's
and we're just going to get a nice big drop of blood.
got a big thing about giving blood, doesn't he?
The blood sample is then tested for glucose, and a baseline blood sugar reading is established. From there, I sit down with the other subjects for a yummy carbohydrate lunch. In my case, dry white bread. Bread with no butter, no nothing on is really not very interesting.
All the foods that we eat are made up of 3 main macronutrients: carbohydrate, fat, and protein. And some foods have got very high proportions of carbohydrates, and that's what you've got around the table here. And they make up the biggest proportion of calories in most people's diets, carbohydrate foods. The Bergen bread is a low GI bread, and if we gave you a low GI meal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it would follow that blue curve. If I gave you a normal wholemeal bread, then it follows that red line. And I think it's pretty clear that this blue one is what you want to see.
Back in the lab, the test subjects that were given the high glycemic foods are retested, and as expected, their blood glucose levels have risen. The whole point of the experiment is
Bob Evans knew.
So I'm going to let him talk about the whole point of the experiment, and then we'll go to questions here real quick. Motherfucker.
Index for each food.
The glycemic index is just a tool, a measuring tape,
Yep.
which sums up how much a carbohydrate in different foods is influencing blood glucose levels after we've eaten them. So it's a scale. The foods that are above 70 on this scale, we call them high glycemic index foods. On the other end of the scale, we've got foods called low glycemic index foods, and they are more slowly digested and absorbed.
Looking at the glycemic index, it's apparent that many of the foods with high GI are the ones that dominate our diet today. When you eat high GI foods all the time, it means that there are constantly high levels of glucose in your blood. In time, this causes major damage to the body.
some cells in the body, they just can't control the uptake of glucose into their cells. Those cells include the cells in the eye, in the kidneys, in the blood vessels, the lining of the blood vessels. So you're setting the scene for blood clots and hardening of the arteries. Eventually, those cells just start to die. And if that happens to our beta cells, the beta cells that produce insulin, then our beta cell mass starts to contract, and we're no longer capable of producing all the insulin we need to. And when that happens, we eventually get a diagnosis of diabetes.
Over 400 million people, including myself.
Okay, so we're gonna kill it there, and we'll just take some. We'll have a discussion, and then we'll have take questions. So if you have any questions, and it can be a question about anything, by the way. I'm not gonna hold you guys to make sure that you have to talk about just this. If you have questions, especially for Crystal, please do ask. Again, here's where you can get our book. I will be updating everybody on our dinner and all like that in the Hunger Management Support Group here shortly, because we'll probably eat dinner here in about an hour and a half. Then I'll take No Morbidity. I've already got my second dose of Product 2 and my second dose of Ember in me, if you can't tell. But I really like doing these just because we've put a lot of thought into this stuff. I wish people would truly listen, and I understand that to a certain degree, it's not even just listening to me, because I'm not the only one. We're not the only people saying stuff like this, but it needs to get there. I just think that I really think that people don't want to admit that the foods that they're absolutely addicted to, they're going to have to start eating in portion.
Yeah.
Carbohydrates become sugar in blood. It doesn't matter if they are processed or not. True. That's very, very true. But the biggest difference in that is how they become that way. Processed carbohydrates and processed sugar. I mean, there's things called complex carbohydrates and simple carbs. Simple carbs are table sugar, white flour, those sorts of things. They're simple because they're already down into the molecule. The most simple sugar, of course, is table sugar. So it enters the blood system very quickly. So the drastic increase in glucose causes a drastic increase in insulin, and it floods the system. It can wear your pancreas out, all sorts of shit too. So I hear what you're saying, all carbohydrates, but not all carbs are different, especially when a lot of times complex carbohydrates are associated with a lot more fiber, and that causes them to be digested slower. So therefore, not only are they not a simple carb where they go into the system faster because it's less to break down, they have associated fiber with it that also makes it so the digestion process is longer, and therefore needs harder to get into the system. Using Nomo and the book and the month trial of the app to get back on track, loving it. Chris in real life, that is awesome. Make sure you. I'm going to talk in the Hunger Management Support Group today. I want to make sure that everybody tells me what their fucking handle is here if they're from here, because for real, I want to say hi in the group and everything like that. The group is where I keep it that's mostly about my training, fitness. We talk to people. I'm going to shoot out some questions here probably later on a day. And if people want an answer or people want to ask me questions in there, I'll probably do a quick video for those people right on in the app, which I've done before. I like doing that. But I'm happy you're enjoying it. I'm very, very happy. Looking forward to reading the book. It's our book. It even says by Crystal and Alan Roberts on it, just because this is her method.
It was a joint effort.
By joint effort, she was figuring out how to get me to stop eating everything. So that's my effort in it, was listening. And learning, obviously. And basically I view it this way, she's great with communication and figuring out the methodology and understanding behavior. I read a lot of the science just because that's my fucking thing, so that's how we did it together. But it's she was like, okay, we know this, we know this satiates you more. She lined it up and figured it out. So there's another documentary on YouTube called Fat Fiction. It similarly, this one, it talks about the diabetes associated, still encourages eating carbohydrates. Fucking crazy. Don't get me wrong. We're going to have carrots here in a little bit because I put a ham in the oven, and then I put the carrots as the base. So the ham juices will just roll down into the carrots, and we're going to glaze it. So there will be a little bit of sugar in it because we're going to do a jalapeno raspberry glaze, but the sugar is going to be from the raspberry a little bit. Mostly it's fresh made. Probably, I'd imagine there's some sugar in there too, but you're only eating the glaze of it. But
it's our evening meal, and it's not something we do all the time.
Yeah, it's our evening meal. Like yesterday was literally beef and peppers. You know, like that's it. If I ate what's recommended in carbs, I would feel incredibly ill on a daily. Most people do.
Yep.
I mean, we were talking about this. Me and you were talking about this yesterday, like how the people that have been heavy their whole life and ate like shit their whole life, when they first lose their first 30 or 40 pounds, the dramatic difference in how they feel like is amazing. It's the difference between when people were athletes and then get fat. Getting them started sucks because they pick up a weight and they're like, oh my God, it's heavy. Oh my God, this. Oh my God, that. I used to be able to do this. The I used to shit drives me a little crazy. And I say it. It drives me crazy when I say it. Tammy Lemon is totally carb addicted. Ileana reviews her diet struggles. I have not watched a single Tammy Lemon video ever. Have you heard of her? She's like one of the weight loss people. I think she's on TV. I think we don't watch weight loss TV either. We were going to start trying to watch My 600 Pound Life again. I just find it so fucking tragic. I can't get past it. Yeah. I mean, I find it tragic, like super tragic. We have so many 600-pound people. We can have a show called My 600 Pound Life, season after season after season after season. Like, to have 400 and 500-pound people is not. 400-pound people are not all that uncommon. That's insane. That's craziness. Let's see. Many people can't fathom a day without bread and other flour products. I do it all the time. I mean, because that stuff.
It's true that a lot of people feel that way, though.
Yeah. I can't see the main chat on the group. Not sure where it went. Sabrina, I'll check it out for you. Okay. I've noticed that too. For some people, it seems impossible to not eat sugar or wheat products even on a day. What thoughts?
I think that people think that, but you just have to do it. You don't need it. You just convince yourself that you need it, so that you give yourself permission to eat it.
Because Crystal does work with when we have sugar addicts come to us, she actually takes the lead. We do that fairly often. Like where one of us is more the lead than another on clients. Which, by the way, you can get our coaching. We have some spots available, even for the intensive coaching, where you can have one of us. Or you can book one with her or book one with me. Two workouts a week. We do right via virtually anyway. But when people come to us with sugar addiction, we normally she normally takes the lead. When they start cutting out sugar, what is the first thing they go to?
If they're actually doing it and cutting out the sugar, they start to add in more fruit immediately. Yeah. Because they want that taste of sweet, and so they start adding fruit to everything. You were telling me it's banana, like 2 bananas for breakfast, pineapple on everything, right? The great fruit controversy of Crystal. People were so fucking weird about that. But the thing is that when they do that, they usually end up giving in to the sweet things that they actually want to be eating anyway. Mm-hmm. It's not that fruit is a problem. It's that if you're continuing to eat sweet tasting things all day, then that's what you're going to continue to want to eat all day. Mm-hmm. And then by the end of the day, they usually end up overeating on the items that they're trying to limit.
That's why you had me move all sweet things to the end of the day, right? Alan, I grew up in the same way as you, with a high-fat diet and home-cooked meals, much smaller portions. I graduated high school in 1983. 95% of my classmates were thin. Yeah, easy. Just goes to show how all the big corporations are in this together. Don't see any of them documentaries on mainstream. They're not on mainstream. That won't even be admitted. Like, this stuff doesn't even get admitted, and I will point out that people, even though they're starting to talk about like weight loss a lot more, it's all take this drug. There's no prevention. It's not your fault, right? It's genetics, or it's this, or it's that. Take this drug. You know. Let's see. I'm a straight up manufactured addiction. It's straight up manufactured addiction. That's why companies like Pepsi spend $750 million a year in research. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Real bread has 0 sugar. Europeans understand what real bread is. That's very fucking true. And it's not necessarily 0 sugar. It's just very minimal sugar to activate the yeast in it. Just so you know. If you both are an awesome team, and I can't wait to get the book and product too. Outstanding. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. It's like an anti-death threat. I need those to balance out. I posted on Twitter the other day, I used to eat a leaf like candy. Now I don't remember the last time I had one. That's amazing.
That's so good.
Amazing.
Yeah. Cutting that kind of stuff out when you can is definitely the way to go.
I went through horrible withdrawals from processed carbohydrates, nausea, headache, anger. It was insane. Sugar addiction is real. We've had people almost get like the first one. Like we were almost worried she would have to get admitted to the hospital. Like she had DTs. I am totally a sugar addict. I thought I had it under control with protein, vegetable diet. Then I told myself I got this. I had a little Debbie cake. I have been struggling getting back on protein veg. Renetta, I'm telling you, we can help you with our coaching. We absolutely can. So I shared the link. That's something we do really, really, really well. If you ask me, we do a lot of shit really well. If you ask me, so. Anyone who says processed carbohydrates are not addictive are just constantly feeding their addiction. That's very true. All right, hey guys, we're not going to be on much longer. In fact, we've been over an hour. So if anybody, guitar picker, we'll say hi to you. Thank you very much. $10. We appreciate you. Anybody have any questions, like actual questions for Crystal? So, question. With the access I got from the app, can I get a consultation as well? Kind of want to see if I'm on the right track through professional opinion. It's not the access you got from buying the book. We do sell consultations. They're normally different, but Renetta Julian, I will send you a link for it in the app. So, but yes, absolutely. It doesn't come with it, but it's possible, and I'll send you a link and we'll work something out because she helps out with the moderation on the channel too. So.
Nice.
In 2023, I worked on cutting processed food out of our home, home-make bread, sauces, even for my 10-year-old son, big changes. That's awesome.
Excellent. Very good.
Awesome. Crystal, how does it feel to have a toxically masculine man sitting right beside you? They are very hard to come by nowadays.
Well, I don't think you're toxically masculine, but I think they're kidding.
Yeah, I think they're kidding too. So, love your videos and work, by the way. Thank you very much. You know, the thing is, like, I do pride myself on masculinity, like, just because I grew up in a time when man be man, woman be woman. But like, just so everybody understands, like, I think that's been like kind of bastardized to make it seem like we think different things. Like, my mother worked 2 jobs. She was a healthcare office manager and a bunch of other shit. And my dad worked construction. So even though, and we have very similar role. Like, I do it, like, I know it sounds odd, like, because like the traditional role is the woman's in the kitchen. I do a majority of the cooking just because it's a process for me and I like it. Also, like, and Crystal knows this, my dad does the majority of the cooking at my parents' house too. Mm-hmm. That's how I was raised, is that the man cooks, and then like but I can say this, like, I don't even think I'm trusted to do laundry because like that's not a good look. I used to just buy all new clothes every couple months when I was single because I'd fuck them up, you know. But I think, like, I talk about it all the time, and for those of you that are interested, like me and Mark have conversations that aren't just fitness related, and we do talk about these things, you know, very, very often. Like, both of our wives we consider be fucking alphas. Like, Crystal's a fucking, like, even though she's like soft spoken, she knows her shit is alpha, like, as fuck. And I have this phrase that, like, you know, kings sit with queens, and I'm not trying to, like, you know, stroke my own fucking ego, but I'm a fucking alpha male, you know, like I'm not one to be fucked with, like you know, and I like in person, people know this too, you know, but Give me a second. I'm gonna put another question here for Crystal, and then I got to answer the door. So. Question, Crystal.
Okay. Is there a particular type of yoga tutorial you would suggest for someone that doesn't have the headspace for yoga? The idea of switching off in quiet time is my biggest block. Have you tried like power yoga, where it's a little faster pace? That might be something that you enjoy more because it's not as slow paced and relaxed as like a restorative yoga. So that might be something that would work well for you.
What is?
Question about yoga.
Oh.
I suggested maybe a power yoga because it's faster paced.
Masculinity will make a comeback. It might take a while, but it will happen. It's going to be hard because the average testosterone level of the average 20-year-old right now is that of a 70-year-old man 20 years ago.
Crazy.
Like, that's the thing. Like, Crystal and I have been together. We've known each other almost 20 years, but we've been together almost 17 years, right? She knew my dad when my dad was like pretty much in his fucking like early 60s, right? He was a big man. Like, I mean, my dad still looks like kind of a manly man, you know? And like my grandfather had to get buried in a double wide casket. His shoulders were so big, you know? You just don't see that much nowadays. And I think that that's a big issue. I do think part of it is how we eat and how children eat, and they grow up like with less testosterone anyway. And then how we treat them, because since they are kind of sickly because of how they eat, we treat them like we very much coddle them and everything like that. I think it's a big fucking problem. Mm-hmm. So, let me see here. Where was that? That's right there. If I'm more masculine than a man, then he is my man. That's very fucking true.
Yeah.
I mean, if she wanted a feminine man, she would probably like, why wouldn't you just date a woman? What the fuck? You know, like, I mean, like, I don't get that. You know, like, I don't understand. So,
but everyone has their own preference.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I remember some people confuse alpha with manly. I just think that people fuck up the whole concept of toxic. What is toxic masculinity? Like, because when I get called toxic masculine, I don't understand how. Like, it's like, I understand, like, it used to be like the guy that tried to get laid all the time and this and that, blah, 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 blah. I can guarantee you where I am every fucking night. Like, I am an alpha male, but I don't function well when she's not around. Like, the last time I traveled for a few days to see my mom, and she couldn't come with me. And I was a fucking wreck. I didn't sleep and shit like that. Like, when she went to yoga teacher training, my son still laughs about this. This was like fucking almost 10 years ago. Or no, it was like, he was 15. It's probably 8 years ago. 8 years ago. She was gone for like 2.5 fucking weeks. I thought I was going to die. Like, I mean, I literally was like eating macaroni and cheese out of the fucking pot I cooked it in over the fucking sink. And like, my son's like, Dad, are you okay? And I'm like, I just missed your mom. It was fucking horrible. So. Let me see. Whoop. Okay, here we go. For someone with a sugar addiction problem who tends to go for fruit as a replacement, how much would you recommend to limit the fruit to? Your advice to not eat fruit in the morning has helped a ton.
I would save it for dessert at the end of the day.
And then how much? Just portion size.
Portion size.
Yeah, a portion size. So an orange is an orange. That's your portion size. Let's see here. Kings sit with queens. I wouldn't expect peasants to understand. Exactly. Exactly. People got so pissed about that. Like, and I'm always amazed at like the shit that people get pissed about. Kings sit with queens. You calling yourself a king? In my house, motherfucker, I am. Yeah. So, and queens always rule. So, join the app and takes Crystal's classes. Absolutely.
Thank you, Jessica.
Hi, Alan and Crystal. I just bought a new book. I just bought your new book, but it's sending me to the consultation link. But I don't want to sign up for that.
I'll check into it as soon as I get off of here.
Yeah, give us a second because we do this stuff manually.
Yeah,
you know, like, I mean, we don't do that. We, like, if you bought the book and you said, like, you see somebody say, "Hey, you know, here's your copy," that's actually me or her. You know. And the gastric sleeve didn't work because she refused to follow the guidelines. I don't know who you're talking about, to tell you the truth. Do you think the low T's are due to estrogenic compounds in processed foods or packaging? I mean, partially. how we eat, and if a child, if a young boy is fat when they go through puberty, the data points to the fact that they literally don't start developing as much testosterone because they're more estrogenic. Like fat is an organ, and it's a hormone producing organ, and produces estrogen. I don't even see people be men of their word, men of their honor. So yeah, I agree. I took Nomorbidity for 3 months and felt great. Stopped it and started having panic attacks in a couple of days. I think there is something in it that helps my anxiety. We actually market it as partially stress relieving. It has the Slimuluna, the one ingredient. The Caralluma fimbriata is the plant name. It has a calming effect, and it helps with stress levels and cortisol levels, but so does KSM-66 too, which is the patented form of ashwagandha. So I'm sorry to hear you're going through panic attacks for it. I will say this all the time: Nomorbidity, which should be back in stock within the next week and a half, 2 weeks. We just got noticed. It is meant as a tool to build healthy lifestyles around too. So that if you were having anxiety attacks off of it, I would wonder like what else you got going on too. Maybe you need to talk to somebody, talk to a mental health professional, or something like that. But how do I get my son to eat more? He looks anorexic. He just stopped eating when he's not hungry anymore. And I'm not confused because of fat people everywhere. He's 5'3" and 80 pounds. You should talk to your doctor. You should talk to a pediatric doctor, because if he is not actually hungry at that weight, I would suggest that there might be something more going on, and it would be literally irresponsible for us to give you advice on your child when a gajillion things be wrong. And this is not to worry you, but I mean, he could have some sort of very serious, like something very serious could be going on. So you should get your son checked out, like by medical professionals, blood work, everything like that. Normally, lack of appetite is lack of, like, very serious lack of appetite to the point where the person is not starving themselves but is also underweight. That is a very serious sign that there's something either endocrinologically going on, some sort of cancer, something like that really needs to be addressed. So please do get that addressed. So my husband was having a really hard time working away. The kids are now grown. It's never fucking again. Ever. Yeah. This one?
Up to.
Two?
Yeah, right there.
Alan, do you ever have or think you can get to a point where peanut M&Ms have an indulgence again? Absolutely not. I don't even let it enter my mind. Absolutely not. They are like, there's no cure for binge eating. Like people, like I've had people come to us like, well, I want to cure my binge eating. Like, I don't consider it cured. I'm a year and 11 months about like in between binges, like I think that when people start thinking I cured my binge eating, like when I see these people online, I recovered from my eating disorder, but then I gained 50 pounds. You didn't recover from shit. You just exchanged something. You exchanged an unhealthy action for another unhealthy action, right? To think that I would be able to go and just eat my binge triggers again is absolutely not. They're not even a fucking little bit. Like, I try not to have too many food rules because I do have a problem also where if I feel too restricted, I tend to overeat because I get very food focused, and it kind of like my binge eating kind of collides with my ADHD. And if I get hyper focused on food because I feel restricted, it's bad. Like last weekend, we had to go get fucking Jimmy John's. Like, I had to get an unwich because I could not fucking we had unwiches when we had unwiches a couple days in a row when the hurricane first hit. And it's Jimmy John's. It's one of their sandwiches wrapped in lettuce instead of bread, right? And I hadn't had one in a while, and I just talked about it non-fucking stop since then. And so we had to fucking stop and get some. Because like, if not, I would start feeling restricted, and there's absolutely no reason to restrict from something like that. It has a little bit more fat than what I would do, a little less protein. So I just made sure earlier on the day or later on the day, I ate just kind of beef from it, so it wasn't a big thing. I ended up perfectly fine for my protein and fats and everything like that. And it's somewhere in the range of calories I normally like. but it could have caused an issue if I would have let myself get too restricted. If I felt too restricted, it's one of the things she noticed, like, and we have the built-in problem for me that I can't eat gluten. So I already felt restricted from bread and pizza and all that shit, right? Which now I just don't even. We haven't had pizza in a long fucking time, and I don't even miss it anymore. I really don't. But
I made a keto pizza like a year ago.
Yeah,
a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it was like a year and a half ago. Yeah. It was delicious. It's not something that, now that I know I can have it, like a lot of stuff's like that. If I know I can have it, it's not that big of a fucking issue. But there's certain things that I'll never have again. I don't have too many food rules, but there's certain things like that are just, if it's a binge trigger, if it's been a binge trigger for you before, it should be on the fucking no-fly zone. So I have a dumbass question. I'm sure it's been answered. Is the book physical or ebook? It's an ebook. We may get some, depending on how the sales go, we may get some physically made for events and stuff like that, because there's a chance that Mark is starting to put together dates for 2023 of events that we're going to be going to, and so we might have some books physically made for it. But I'm never going to go through Amazon again, just because they totally fuck us. I mean, they just totally fucked us. So, unless the least amount of money I can give to them, the better. So. Question: if you realize you're binging and out of control, how do you stop mid-binge? How do you get back on track for the rest of the day? I don't necessarily know how to stop mid-binge. It's normally like stop beforehand. If you've realized that you're having a stressful day or something like that, we kind of outlined this in the book. I'd rather people eat 200 extra calories of protein to try to quell any hunger or anything like that, to try to avoid it. Mid binge, I have that's very individualized. I have very little for you, but try to get, I would grab the biggest bottle of water you could and try to fill yourself up. That's what I fucking absolutely suggest. The thing is, like, keep your binge triggers away as much as you can the rest of the day, and the next day. Like, don't over restrict the next day. Try to just start your day like normal. I would start with protein, healthy fat only, to keep it going. So we talk about this in the book. Again, here is the link to the book. We're not going to be on much. Whoop! I don't know how the fuck that happened. We're not going to be on much longer. We're going to take a few more questions and we go. I sleep like a baby on the mode. First thing I noticed. That's awesome. Although getting him to eat enough healthy meals is hard, he gets full. Like I said, you should definitely talk to somebody about that if it's your child. Let's see. Just bought the book, Lily. That's good. Well, I see a bunch of people here. We'll be sending it to them here in a second.
Thank you so much. We'll get to you as soon as we're done here.
And the worst part about binge is the guilt afterwards. It's one thing that, like, we talk to people all the time. We do this for our clients too. If you binge, like, you're going to feel bad, but always try to take a step back, look at it, and try to examine, like, were you hydrated, what the situation was, because then you can try to avoid it for the future. So at least the unhealthy action is not necessarily in vain. Unhealthy action can absolutely help you prepare for the future, because it's part of figuring out your disorder. The biggest problem is people that binge and they want to forget about it. The thing is, if you're a binge eater, you don't want to forget about it. You want to realize that you are a binge eater. It's something you got to live with and something you're going to fucking deal with, How out of control do you feel during a binge eating? Has to be one of the scariest feelings. Like, I always equate it. It's like watching a movie of yourself, gorge yourself on food. Like, let me see here. Just got Mental Jewels, going to start it right Monday. Ember's on the way. Good for you. Good for you. Guys, we do need to run. I'm looking at the time. We got to go. No, it was my husband who gets full so quickly on healthy foods. He was anorexic at one point, though. Right now, his BMI, he's under, but he looks healthy, lean mass wise. He's 6'6". I would just, maybe go to more calorically dense meats. Like, instead of giving like chicken breast, maybe do chicken thigh, because it's higher in fat content. 6'6" at 185. That's kind of thin. But I don't think he's necessarily underweight. I forget the ranges. I'd have to figure it out. Anyway, guys, I do need to run. I'll probably be live tomorrow for a little bit. I might even do some crazy shit later on the day and just pop on and do some shit. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. But Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness. It's your channel. So thank you all very, very much. I hope you all have a great weekend. Like I said, I'll be live probably tomorrow and Sunday. I'm trying to do a little bit of live every single day while YouTube allows me. Please do follow me over at the MFing COO. Unless you do actually you just watch for some of the tips and you get your feelings hurt easy, don't follow them because I mean, well, follow. I don't give a fuck if your feelings get hurt. Anyway, fuck your feelings. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
God damn.